if you felt called to this episode, there is a good chance you're at a potentially dangerous time in your self employment journey, a time where you are feeling the itch and maybe the ick. When you look at your brand, you see this sad, unprofessional, small time thing that is not magnetic in any way and does not represent the true value of what you have to offer, of the depth that exists within you. You know that you're a very different person to the person who launched said brand. And you're like, I need to shed my skin. I need to stop being such a caterpillar and finally look like the butterfly that I am. And it's at this point in the journey when a lot of people jump to take action, to throw money at that problem and to get themselves a gorgeous new brand. And I've been working with self-employed people, small business owners, for the last 11 years, and I have unfortunately had to witness the dark side of this point in time where far too many people will throw down that money without really knowing what they're doing and what they need and who they're working with. And before they know it, they've spent five, 10, even $30,000 on branding, on a new website, and it turns out it's unusable. And it certainly doesn't help achieve the thing that they wanted, which is more of the aligned clients, more success, more visibility, more magnetism, and more feeling like they're actually authentically and fully expressed in the world. So I wanted to create this video as a little bit of a cautionary tale, help you understand that while you might be feeling the urge to get this thing taken care of right now, because you can't live another day in this ill-fitting outfit, it's not necessarily the thing that needs tackling right now. We're also going to talk about why most people approach branding from the outside in, which has us potentially walking away with something that looks pretty but doesn't actually change your business's results in any way. And I'm going to give you an alternative, which is the inside out approach. So you can see that depending on where you're at in this process, there's probably a few extra steps that you need to take before you're ready for that final step, which is the full transformation. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a self-assessment that you can do to really see like what is the problem right now, because it may not be the brand, or at least not only the brand. Okay, sound good? Let's just dive straight in. So when you reach that point, when your brand starts to give you the ick, 9 times out of 10, what's really going on is you, the business owner, have gone through a process of evolution as a human being, but also in the way that you serve your clients. You're probably feeling a lot more connected to your value, to the fact that you are unique, that you are changing people's lives with what you do. And you're like, oh my God, like there is just this huge divide between what people are seeing and perceiving, the first impressions, and what it is that they actually experience when they work with me. And the other thing that tends to happen is that when we launch our businesses, we are at obviously an earlier stage of the personal growth journey, because I mean, anyone else agree that being a business owner, being self-employed in any way is like the fastest way to force you into a personal development journey. Like, so you have to face the shadows. You have to shed a whole bunch of stuff and decondition and whatnot in order to be able to stay functioning and sane as a business owner. So what happens is over those years, as we're doing this work and we are becoming new versions of ourselves, this much more authentic version of us starts to emerge and it wants to be expressed. But the way that we've set our brands up in the outside world, and when I say brand, I mean your branding, your photos, your logo, your website, but I also mean how you're expressing yourself in your content. Like I'm talking about the whole picture. The way you've set that up was based on old you and how much of yourself you were happy to express, the old habits that you're in, like the limitations that you had around visibility. And now there's like this lion that wants to like emerge, this like wilder, more powerful version of you that is like, hey, I'm ready to be seen. And it feels like the branding that exists is a cage. So when we start to think about then just rebranding in terms of hire some branding expert, like get them to choose some new colors, some new fonts, and like throw together a gorgeous new website for you, hopefully you can already see that this is not necessarily going to allow that lion to be expressed. I don't know why I picked lion. It could have been anything. Pick your own animal, whatever you feel like is emerging out of you right now. Because often they're going to pick something that's really lovely and checks all the boxes and is much more professional looking, but will it actually get that essence of who you are? And even more importantly, the essence of the kind of person that you want to serve and what is really going to call them in. Because this is where the most work of branding actually happens. It's really understanding that branding is a bridge between you and the people that you are best equipped to serve. And if all we're doing is thinking about it as a fresh coat of paint, so you can be like, oh, phew, like I don't have that janky little logo anymore, we're probably not actually building a bridge. We're just like putting a pretty picture out there. So aside from this authentic expression piece and the bridge building piece, there are some other things that we really want to think about. Like when you're thinking, I need a new brand, it's probably connected to you having some pretty specific goals for your business, right? For instance, I need to land more clients and I need to land better quality clients. I need to find it easier to create content. Like I don't want to be messing around so long in Canva when I go to create something. Like I just want to know what my brand guidelines are so I can share something. I need to stop doubting myself. Like I need to stop with this imposter syndrome. And maybe if I have some gorgeous professional brand, I won't feel so small time. Now, these are all great motivations, and branding may help a little with each of those things, but they're not going to help with the full picture. And so, what I want you to do first, if you've pulled out that notepad or you've got your digital note taking device, without overthinking, quickly write down what are 5 things that you are hoping that branding helps you achieve? Is it to do with clients, money, visibility, how you feel about yourself, how long it's taking you to do things, being able to outsource something? There are no right or wrong answers here, but I want you to be really clear on them because we can also then identify, okay, so how much of that is actually going to be solved with the brand and how much is going to require some other kinds of work. I'll give you some quick examples. Landing more clients? Well, sure, if your branding is on point and the messaging is in place, which often gets forgotten when we are doing a rebrand, then sure, it can attract some more clients and some better fit clients. But if we've got an issue with articulating our value, if we've got an issue with our offers not really being packaged in a way that's appealing to our clients, if we do not have a marketing strategy in place that's getting us visible and having new people discover us, if we don't have a system for nurturing our clients and helping them convert into sales, then the brand does very little. It just has more people go like, ooh, that's pretty. But like how many people are even seeing it if you've got a visibility issue? Example 2, I said, I need to find it easier to create content. Like I'm wasting too much time in like Canva creating graphics. Okay, sure. When I did my big rebrand 4 years ago, did it get a little quicker for me to create content? Actually, if I'm being honest, website updates got a lot quicker because I had my brand language in place. But when it came to content, it mostly had to do with my own planning process, my own strategy, my messaging, being clear on who I wanted to speak to. I had all these questions, like a lot of unraveling that was going on with my business at the time. Like, oh, hang on, I don't even know if I want to offer this anymore. Do I need to change that? And so there was no magic quick fix with my content. There was so much other behind the scenes work that I had to do for the content piece to be improved. Third example was about self doubt and imposter syndrome. Well, it can feel great to have something that looks really professional out there. And also, if you are seriously struggling with self doubt, if you are really questioning your own value, and that's something that, like, there is that sense of, oh, people are going to figure out soon enough that I'm a fraud, or like, why would they choose me? Sometimes having the super professional brand can create like a dissociative experience where you're like, oh my God, it's even more fake now. Like they're going to see this amazing brand and assume I know what I'm doing. Whereas behind the scenes, I'm a hot mess express. So it definitely does not solve imposter syndrome. The only time it really makes a difference there if you truly believe in your value and you feel so sure of that, and the brand is actually chipping away at that. Like you're embarrassed for people to look at your brand because you're like, I am so much better than that, like so much more valuable, so much more professional. And that's the final piece. And this is what I'm getting at. We need to establish where on this journey are you, because those kind of foundations of, the business strategy, the marketing strategy, your own self-belief, your self-worth, clarity on your positioning, all of those kinds of things have to exist for you to get the most out of that rebrand and ensure that that is a strategic rebrand and not just a like ego driven one that feels good for a moment and then you're back to freaking out about where the next client is coming from. So next, let's talk about where branding usually goes wrong. And that is when it's approached from the outside in. What I mean by outside in is we will have this fixed idea of what we think our brand is supposed to look like. It is often inspired by, I'm saying because it could be completely ripped off from someone we look up to. Like, so think that Pinterest board approach of like, oh, I love all of these websites. I love how this person shows up. And we're kind of doing this little patchwork thing to go, okay, well, I want these kinds of colors with this, and I want to be able to show up like so and so. It's just this very superficial take on branding. Outside in also just looks like thinking about purely what the packaging is and not really thinking about the fact that this is a bridge, that your brand has purpose. It is actually the vehicle that's going to get you from where you are to where you want to go. It needs to be able to carry you. It needs to be able to expand and evolve as you do, and not just be like, oh, this was pretty today, but now I'm over it because, for instance, you chose colors that were just trending, or you were going through like a, I don't know, like a rockabilly phase and got this cutesy idea in your head about what the brand could be. 3 months later, you hate it because it's dated really badly. So anytime we're just fixed on the outside and we're not starting within, which we'll talk about in a second, we end up with a brand that is a house of cards. The second a little bit of wind comes along, that's going to knock over, and you're going to realize there was nothing here to begin with except, wow, I spent a lot of money and or time doing this thing. An inside out approach is a much deeper approach. It takes more time. Not everyone wants to do it this way, but I tell you what, this is where we actually make sure that we find the source of your magnetism. And when we find a way to translate that into those outer pieces so that everything you are choosing to put into your brand has purpose, it was chosen intentionally. So to go from the inside out, we start with you. We need to really explore, what is it that you are here to offer the world? How do you want to express yourself? What makes you unique? Those sources of your own personal magnetism. Now, I love things like human design, the gene keys, and astrology for exploring these kinds of things. I also love the IEQ 9, which is a really deep approach to the Enneagram for speeding up this process, but also going back through past testimonials. What are people saying about you? Not just about what you do, but how you make them feel. Trying to start to build this real picture of who you actually are. What is that core purpose? Like, what are you here to represent in the world? If you do look up your Gene Keys chart, I'll put a link in the description below because it's a free thing that you can pull up. I can go into way more depth with you in a mythic journey, but the free version of this, the quick version, have a look at two places. So I want you to have a look at your life's work sphere, which is also known as your brand sphere. And this is the equivalent of like your conscious sun. So, your sun sign, your conscious sun in human design. This is going to say a lot about that energy that you're bringing into the world and just who you are naturally. I also love the line number after it because it will give it a lot more color and texture. But then the other one is on the other side of your chart, all the way down the bottom. Have a look at your purpose sphere as well and look at the keywords. So always be looking at the gift and the city and see what those words bring up in you. These things are not one and done. So what I do is I will keep notebooks, or I will do a big whiteboard, and I will start to collect all of these bits of inspiration of what stands out to me when I'm looking at those charts, and what are some visuals that represent me, and what is the essence of how I want to be experienced in the world. The next step though is then we want to think about what is the work that you want to do, like what is the mark you want to make on the world and the real mission that you represent. So is there one particular change that you're here to make, like something that you want to fix in a broken industry, something that bothers you about your niche, or a general population where you're like, I know that if these people knew this, or if they could change how they see this, or how they feel about themselves, or how they approach fill in the blank, this would change so much. Like, this would change their lives and it would have a ripple effect in the world. Next, we're starting to connect the dots. So we've got you and what you have to offer and your gifts and your strengths and all of that. There's the change that you want to make. And then we need to think about your market, because this is where we get way more specific about who it is that you are here to serve. Who are the people that are best aligned with the work that you're doing right now, who'd benefit most and who are most ready for your work, like as in prepared to actually pay for it and also prepared to be on the receiving end of whatever it is that you are doing. 'Cause for me, for instance, I am not for someone who's not ready to hear some hard truths, who's not ready to do some of that deep inner work. I'm not here for the people who want quick fixes and to throw some money at me and say, hey, fix my brand. Like that is just not how I work. So I have to get really clear about who that person is, because this is also then going to play into what we're doing with our branding, because it should not all be about you. I know it might feel like, oh, but it needs to allow me to express myself. But the thing is, if it does not actually resonate with the people that you're trying to serve, then it's missed the point. And so I think this is also really a tough thing for us to juggle sometimes, is finding that sweet spot between what appeals to us and what appeals to our ideal audience. But the purpose of your brand is to support your mission. So if it is not reaching those people, then forget about it. Next up, we have our model. So this is where I want you to make sure that you are really clear on how you are packaging up your offers and clear on what is the style of delivery that you have. Because a brand that is built for someone who is more of a writer who has like a paid Substack subscription is going to be different for branding that is for a coach or someone who has a paid community or someone who creates products or someone who da 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 da. So being really clear on the model, because I just know, I know this about myself and about so many people I've worked with. They often come to me thinking about their brand because it's what bugs them the most. But we often ignore some of that heavier stuff to go straight to the pretty thing. But then when we backtrack, I've had people go, oh, I actually am better equipped to serve this person. Like they have more money and they are more ready to work with me than this person, which means I now need to make a different signature offer. And therefore, I also need to think about my branding differently because it should speak to someone who's a little bit more corporate and professional as opposed to like this the stay-at-home mum. Very cliche example, but it was an actual example from a client. So we're just going to roll with that. So do you see how there's a ripple effect from each of these different things that eventually is going to send you on a different trajectory for that end destination, which is your rebrand? The next thing we're thinking about is your messaging, which is a huge part of your brand, but often gets forgotten in the branding, traditional branding piece, because it's let's just be real, it is a lot more difficult to do. Okay, so the messaging is the thing that does most of the heavy lifting. Now, I have a lot of people who speak to how magnetic my website is, and they're like, oh, the visuals and the energy and all of that, it just like really, I found it so appealing. But then I read what you were saying and it spoke to my soul. It was like you're in my head. It was that part that actually got them sold. The first part, sure, was magnetic and appealing, and yet they're not going to pay unless they really understand what I'm here to do and how I'm here to help them and how that can be valuable and what is unique about what it is I'm offering. And my bet is if you have been in this journey of professional evolution for a while now, your messaging is due for an update too. Because if your work has become deeper and more valuable and more nuanced, and you have developed these really unique ways of approaching things and you have unique perspectives, and yet you're still describing your offers as, something that's a little bit generic and paint my numbers from whatever copywriting template that you got to write your sales page, then we need to bring that up to speed. Because honestly, if your goal is more clients, better quality clients, more money, the messaging is where the money is. The final pretty rebrand will just be like the cherry on top. Then we are thinking about your marketing. And that is because, again, if no one knows about you, then what is the point of this rebrand anyway? And your messaging feeds into your marketing because that's going to help you figure out, well, okay, so what kind of content do I create? Knowing who your audience is going to help you know where you need to be showing up. What are the best platforms for you to be on? And what's the best way for you to deliver your message? Are they short form people or long form people? Are they likely to enjoy a podcast from you, or would they rather read something? So we're going to do this as well, because once we know where we're showing up and what kind of content we're going to be creating, then we can also identify what potential templates and assets that we're going to need from this rebrand to make sure that we do have everything set up for when we are go, go, go. So then once we've got the marketing sorted, that is when we get to the final piece and we can think about the pretty stuff. This is when we are going to be able to, like, trust me, you're going to have to do some heavy lifting. If you're working with a good branding person, they're going to send you a massive questionnaire. If they don't, red flag, run away, don't find somebody else. They're going to ask you a lot of questions about who you are, about how you express yourself. They're going to ask you about your mission, about your market, about your model, about your messaging, about your marketing. And if you can't answer those well, they're going to have to make some things up, go in an intuitive direction, which may land and may not. They are expecting you to have all the foundations in place, and that makes the rebrand easy. So if we're going to simplify it, I want you to think being you, then business, then branding. One creates the other, creates the other. And I want you to understand that doing this work in this order is the thing that's also going to get you so much more connected to your value and knowing that, like, yeah, okay, I have something real to offer. Because once you understand what it is that you're really about, you can articulate that to your ideal client and be like, yeah, this is how I can help you uniquely. Your self doubt shrinks. Your imposter syndrome gets much quieter. And that is the thing that is going to create the most magnetism and help you land more clients. The branding ends up just sort of being a little background item. Like, sure, it'll be memorable and people might love it, but they're going to choose to work with you if you are fully connected to your worth and you can have that conversation with them that makes them feel really confident that, yeah, you're the person that I need to work with. So that is why I want you to approach this process from the inside out. Do we have a deal? Not that I can follow up, but if you agree, if you're all for inside out, leave me a comment and that will make me really happy. Now, I promised you an assessment. The way I've set this up is we're going to use your score to determine whether or not a rebrand is actually critical and urgent because there is a chance that it truly is. And I do not want to hold you back if that is the case. So I've got 10 questions for you. And what I want you to do is give yourself a score of 1 to 5 for these. If it's a 5, that's like strongly agree. And if it's a 1, strongly disagree. Okay? Get ready to write these down. First question: do you receive any positive feedback about your brand? Question 2: are you known for something specific? 3: do you stand out from competitors? 4: are you easily recognizable? And I'm asking this question more about your brand presence as opposed to you walking into a room, because that's great, but we want to make sure that this also works with the things that aren't physically you. Question 5: does the outside match the inside? As in, so who you are and what it is that you do, is that reflected in the outside of your brand? Question 6: is it converting? Question 7: is it aligned with your offers? Like, would you say that people wouldn't be surprised, if they saw your brand and then they heard about what you offer? Like, it makes perfect sense to them. So, is it aligned? Question 8: does it appeal to your ideal people? Like, as in, is the brand itself appealing? Like, would they go, oh, I really like this? Question 9: is it attracting the right people? Like, are you finding that the people who are drawn to you are the people you actually want to be working with? And question 10: do you feel good about it professionally, not personally? Like, if you detach yourself a little bit personally and go, you know what? Yeah, it's okay. So you've given yourself a score of 1 to 5 for all of these. If you got less than 10, I would say a rebrand is quite urgent. If you got 10 to 20, it's a priority. If it is 20 and above, I would say you can put it on the back burner. However, regardless of your score, I want you to start doing this inside out process now, because that is the thing, again, that's going to mean that you increase your conversions, that you own your value, and that you're ready for the rebrand if and when it's happening. So just because I said, oh, the rebrand is urgent does not mean you skip all of those other steps. I want you to do this properly, because to be completely honest, a good rebrand is either going to cost you a lot of money or a lot of time or both. And so if you're going to do it, you want it to really pay off and give you that ROI. One final thing that I want to plant a seed around for you. There is this feeling that we can get that until we have the rebrand in place, we can't move forward. Like, we're at a standstill. We see it as a dead end. And it is such a lie. I actually believe that this is one of the most ripe times for you in terms of starting to explore and expand the way you express yourself. And I think being able to do that, even with the limitations of a brand that you don't love, is so powerful, because you're taking your power back. Like, by saying, oh, I can't really show up until my brand looks right, is really disempowering. And it's a little bit selfish as well, because if you have something amazing to offer the world, then who are you to say, "Oh, I won't do it until the conditions are perfect." I certainly have done that, which is why I can call you out, because I've had to face that truth myself as well. It feels really uncomfortable to start moving forward when you feel like you're in the messy middle and you're like, "Oh no, but like what are people going to think?" Actually, all you need to worry about is what you are thinking, because any judgment from the outside world is just mirroring your own self-doubt. So if you can come to this place of acceptance about like, "Okay, I am in the messy middle, and yet I am committed to a process of discovery. I am seeing that like the top of that mountain involves this gorgeous rebrand that I am so proud of, and it is going to express who I am. It's going to be so magnetic to the outside world. And also, I know that the part of the point of this journey is that I need to climb the mountain. And as I climb the mountain, you are going to become that person who is ready to fully embody that rebrand. So I want you now to actually commit to this journey, to this process of like, I am a rebrand in process. And there is so much I can do right now, and one of the most important things for me to do is figure out how can I start expressing myself fully and play and experiment. Because the more you can make these discoveries now and realize, oh, I'm someone who wants to express myself like this. And like, oh, I am actually like very naturally like someone who leans towards, I don't know, something over there. That is going to give you the foundations to feed into that rebrand briefing document, and is going to give that designer or whoever it is that you're working with all of the clues that they need to create something that you are actually obsessed with. So I'm here hyping you up saying this is a good thing. If you've outgrown your brand, get excited about that fact. Stop cringing, stop apologizing for it, and start visualizing what you want instead. And know that the most important thing is that you embody the energy of that new brand before you even bring it into manifestation, because it's only ever going to be able to match your energy and how much you're owning your value. And a final word of warning from personal experience and also from seeing this happen to some of my clients. Often, when we are called to this rebrand, it feels like it's because we're coming to the end of our journey. Like it feels like we're close to completion, and it's like, I just need this final thing to make it feel real. When what actually might happen is as they start to do this self exploration, that inner work, where I said it starts with you, it's the being first. When you're really going deep and going, what are my gifts? What am I really being called to share with the world? You can end up with more questions than answers. And you realize that you're being called to do something a lot bigger than just rebrand. And there may be another sort of phase of your evolution that is imminent. And what can happen when we realize that we need to let go of some of the old ways we were showing up. Like there's a bit of a shedding process that happens. We can enter what I call the void, this liminal space between who you were and who you're becoming. And it can be a really scary place to be, because you're like, oh my gosh, I went from being so clear on what I wanted for my business and for my brand, and now I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't even know who I am anymore. Like it can really take you to some like existential crisis kind of place. And I just want to let you know, I already have an episode on that. So if that happens to come up, or you feel like you're already in the void and you're like, I would love a rebrand, but like first I need to know what I'm doing with my life, then I would suggest that you watch this one next. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.